All right, this lesson is about carbohydrates, which is part of topic 2.3. Now, it's not the entire topic, it's only some of it. This topic is about carbohydrates and lipids, so it's important that you can identify which of the dot points in the syllabus are important and relating to carbohydrates. All right, let's talk about saccharides. Saccharide is the Greek word meaning sugar, and therefore when we talk about monosaccharides, we're talking about sugars and therefore carbohydrates. So we're talking about a lot of vocabulary, and it's really important to keep on top of it and know what's equivalent and what isn't. So monosaccharide, mono meaning one, it means it is just the monomer, just a simple one molecule. Disaccharide means our monomers start to join up, and then our disaccharides can join up to get poly. So poly meaning many, so there's a lot all joined together. All right, our monosaccharides are nice and simple. We have glucose, we have fructose, we have galactose. Then we also have deoxyribose and ribose that are simple. Now, if you have a look at these labelers here, we've got hexoses and pentoses. Now, don't be fooled, because if you look really carefully, this is actually a pentagon. But what's different here is that it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and an extra one, 6. So these all have 6 carbons, and these all have 5. But they are the names of our simple monomers that when they start to join together become our disaccharides and our polysaccharides. So our disaccharides are made up of those monomers. Here's a nice simplistic version. Our monomers here are glucose, fructose, and galactose, and when in different combinations can create new disaccharides. So sucrose is made up of a glucose and a fructose. Maltose is made up of 2 glucose, and lactose is made up of a glucose and a galactose. So here's a different version of them. So maltose, lactose, sucrose are the 3 that we should be focusing on. Right, so disaccharides, obviously, we're starting to build up those monomers, and that synthesis process, which is anabolic, requires energy. And that condensation reaction is that one where we're joining the monomers together, and what happens is that an OH group from one monomer is cleaved off and the hydrogen from another is cleaved off, and they join to create a water molecule. So condensation reactions are the synthesis where the monomers are joining and it creates water. The flip side of that is hydrolysis, means we actually need water for the process to be happening so that we can break apart the water molecule, stick the hydrogen on one and the OH group on the other monomer so they can go off and be simple monomers. Right, the same thing will happen to create a polysaccharide, but remember our polysaccharides have even more of those monomers all strung together, and they come in different shapes and sizes. These are what we know as our complex carbohydrates. Now, because they have such wide branching chains or they're very long chains, they are difficult for the body to break down, so they're used as long-term energy storage. You'll be able to differentiate between complex carbohydrates and simple ones. Those ones that hit your mouth and are sweet straight away usually are simple ones. So your Fruit Loops versus, say, your porridge or your Wheat Bix are more complex carbohydrates, and they're that longer lasting energy, and you might hear them talking about as low GI or high GI. All right, so the storage of individual molecules like glucose becomes a bit of a problem because it can cause problems with osmosis. If there's heaps of glucose in one area, water wants to rush in and save the day, okay? It wants to dilute that tissue. So the bodies and the organisms have found other ways to do that. What they've done is strung all of those monomers together, and what it can do is store it for a later time, okay? And in order to access that energy, it will need to be digested or hydrolyzed and broken apart to get to that monomer. So our 3 types that we need to focus on are cellulose, starch, and glycogen. All right, firstly, cellulose is something that is found in plants, okay? And it's the beta glucose all linked together in a straight, unbranched chain. Really simple, very long chain, that's it. What it can do is form bundles. It's really highly tensile, so it's really, really strong. And what it does is contribute to cell walls. So obviously those cell walls are quite strong because they need to hold the shape and hold in the contents of the entire cell. So our bodies actually can't digest it. So human bodies cannot digest cellulose, and that means it passes straight through us, and that's what we know as fiber, right? That's clearing our system out. All right, starch is also found in plants, and if you ever wash rice or you've started to cook some pasta and it gets the water gets a bit milky, that's that starch coming out of the plant matter. Now, it is only in plant cells and it's hydrophilic, but it's actually too large to dissolve, right? These are very large molecules. Now, two types. One is amylose, and amylose are our long strings. They are unbranched chains, and they're kind of twisted up to be a helix. And the other option for starch is amylopectin. Now, amylopectin has branched chains off it, so it's a bit more complicated. And that leads on to our glycogen. Now, glycogen is found in animals and fungal cells, and it's branched, right? It's got heaps of branches coming off it. It's not as simple anymore. It's rarely found in meat, and our body actually needs to make it ourselves from the glucose that we find. So it's stored in the liver, and our bodies use this when we have low on blood sugar, so you're hypoglycemic, you're feeling a bit faint, you're a bit dizzy, your body is drawing on the stores of glycogen. So if you haven't eaten in a while and you go and exercise, your body's going to need to access that energy in the liver and start breaking it down using hydrolysis reactions so it can access the glucose. All right, here's our polysaccharides in a nice, neat BioNinja table. It's got some delightful pictures here to remind you to compare the different shapes and sizes. Okay, so there are our syllabus dot points. Again, identify which ones are related to carbohydrates, and we'll get to the lipids in a later video.